All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Commissioner Farmer. Welcome to the Monday, August 24th NSA Ad Hoc meeting. And we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to share my screen. One moment, please. And I see Katina. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Katina. Good to
Evening.
see you.
Evening.
All right, can you all see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm Commissioner Farmer. We're going to go ahead and get started with the August 24th NSA Ad Hoc meeting. And most of us are going to be here tonight. Some people can't. Chair Garcia Costa can't make it tonight, and Pastor Jackie is on a flight, so she's not going to be able to make it. And Miss Montgomery, our chief of staff, had to go to another meeting. But the bulk of us are going to be here. So we're going to start off going over the timeline again, really briefly, and then we're going to dive into recap of last meeting. And then from that, I think that's going to help us start to discuss and further create our draft CMC statement. Because I know that what we talked about last week, Katina, you would rather start the draft as soon as possible after this meeting rather than wait until the end of the month because there are other things going on, correct? Okay. Okay, here we go. So I've updated the timeline. It's changed a little bit since last time we looked at it, but we already had this first meeting. We're at number 2 here, the second meeting, start the statement draft, or at least give something for Katina to work with, which is going to happen, right after this meeting from tomorrow through um, up until our next meeting, basically. We have our general meeting this Thursday, the 27th. I'm going to request commissioner feedback at that time. Actually, let me see one thing really quickly. Make sure that people aren't still waiting in the waiting room. Give me one moment. Okay, they're there. Okay. Okay, and then so we're working on the statement. We have our meeting. We get feedback from the commissioners, and then we're going to go over what that draft is next Monday, a week from today. Um, and then we're going to continue to work on it. Well, I guess the feedback that we have at that point from the commission and us hearing what they had to say, and then helping put that into context, then we're going to get that draft to our chief of staff to put it on the agenda for our first meeting in September, so we can vote on it then, because that's the only meeting we're going to be able to vote on it prior to it being needed to be submitted to the city attorney's office to be included in the whole package to the court. So that's what's going to happen there, and we need to get that to her no later than like a day or two after next Monday's meeting, basically. And then leading up to that meeting, it's a 3-day weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. I propose that we meet on September 8th. I haven't heard anyone say that they can't meet on that date so far, but we
What
can.
day is that?
It's
I'm sorry.
Tuesday.
I'll be out. I can't be in that day, but you can go forward.
Okay. Let me just make a note. Um,
And Commissioner Farmer, this is Katina.
mhm.
It
Yeah.
is it is possible that there will be another ad hoc meeting that night. It's not clear yet whether the enabling ordinance ad hoc committee will be meeting weekly or biweekly. So if it's weekly, there may be an enabling ordinance ad hoc on Tuesday, September 8th.
So you may not be able to make it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I will know within the next couple of days. The Enabling Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee is meeting tomorrow night for the first time, and the chair will set the schedule then.
Okay, sounds good. What about yourself, IG? Can you make it on Tuesday, September 8th, if necessary?
So I'm in the same predicament where I'm on the other ad hoc. So if that's still scheduled for that Tuesday, to have a conflict for me.
Okay. Um, hmm. Well, I guess we'll leave it there for now. Maybe the community members and myself and other commissioners want to meet and talk. Um, we'll leave it there for now. What if it was on Wednesday the 9th? Would that work for either of the three of you?
That's the
Mm.
When holiday, so I think I'll come back late that evening.
Oh, you're out of town and then you don't come back till Wednesday?
Yes.
What about you, IG?
It works for me. I'm available.
Okay. What if Katina, could you make Wednesday if necessary?
I believe I can. Um,
Okay.
I can make Wednesday.
You said you can, Mariano?
I cannot.
But you can make it Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesdays, yes.
And double checking on my calendar, I have to double check this, that Wednesday is a city holiday.
The
Um,
Wednesday is what?
um, Wednesday is supposed
Yes,
to be Monday the
yes.
9th is a city holiday.
Hmm. Well, I know that Friday is a holiday because it's 9/11, but what's Wednesday?
No, Monday is Labor Day and Wednesday is some other day, like Admissions Day or something like that.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
California Admissions Day.
That's
But
fine. I
but
don't want.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Farmer, Commissioner Jackson Castaigne put a note in the chat saying that the enabling ordinance ad hoc can schedule around the NSA ad hoc
Okay.
for Tuesday.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Um, okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Commissioner Jackson Castaigne. And that helps us figure out what we need to do next. All right, we'll leave it at that for now. It's good to have something to be able to plan for that week. Um, all right, then after that, we have our meeting on Thursday the 10th where we're going to vote on the statement. Um, and then we're going to, at the following Monday, which is September 14th, we're going to go over those revisions. If there's feedback from the meeting on the 10th, we're going to finalize that stuff then. And then officially finalize it the next 2 days after that, between September 15th and 17th. And then we have to submit it to the city attorney's office no later than Tuesday, September 18th. And then at our following meeting, Monday, September 21st, we can meet to talk about talking points for the CMC event itself if we feel necessary. Um, Yeah, and then we can talk about that same topic at our next commission meeting, which is September 24th, if that's helpful to the chair. And then after that, the last thing to happen is the actual case management conference on Tuesday, September 29th. I think that's pretty straightforward. The only date that we have some questions around is the Labor Day week, but I think we've pretty much figured out um, contingency plans for that. Any other thoughts or questions, concerns about the timeline? Okay, then let's go back to the agenda. Okay, so that was a timeline. Then we're going to recap our last meeting. This is what we went over at the beginning of the meeting for those of you who just joined us. And then we're going to start to draft the CMC statement as much as we can. And it says public comment at the end, but if someone from the public, if you do have a question or comment as we go along, just raise your hand and I will get to you. Okay, so these are some notes that I typed up. I rewatched the meeting and typed up some notes. Give me one sec, I just want to check. Let's go over the chat really quick. It looks like Commissioner Grillo has joined us. I want to see what everything is.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. Thank you for joining us, Commissioner Grillo. We can't see you yet, but we can hear you.
How about now?
There
All
we
right.
go. It looks like you may have joined on 2 devices. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I had trouble signing on, but I'm not getting any feedback. So,
Yeah, the other one's muted, so we're good. Yeah, you're good. Okay, so we're just going over what the agenda, we just went over the timeline, and we're going over the agenda before we get back to recapping last week's meeting. I'm just reviewing the chat to see if there's anything that I missed. Oh, that holiday on the Wednesday's admission day, thank you. And then the feedback from Commissioner Jackson Castaigne. When is the content of the statement to be discussed? Good question, Ms. Cleveland. We're going to get to that very shortly. So that's a good segue into our recap from last meeting. And this is what, and everyone can see my screen, correct?
yes.
Do I need to make this bigger, or is this big enough? Anyone need it bigger?
It suffices for me.
Bigger? It suffices for me. Bigger. Okay. So my big takeaway from our meeting is that what everyone seemed to be saying is that we'd like to resources. Hold on, I need to mute somebody. Okay. That we need to obtain resources in accordance with the charter to be able to conduct meaningful civilian oversight as the voters intended. That's kind of what I see as the objective of the statement. Does anyone disagree with that or have a different idea before we go forward with recapping? Well, unmute yourself, please, Commissioner Grillo.
Yeah. Could you repeat what you just said? I missed that.
Oh, I was saying that what I see as the objective after rewatching the last meeting of the CMC statement is to, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Is obtaining resources per the Oakley Municipal Charter to be able to conduct meaningful civilian oversight as the voters intended. Any feedback on that statement itself?
You mean, are you suggesting we ask the court for that?
We're gonna get into exactly what we want to communicate to the court moving forward. But I just wanted to say that was my takeaway from our last meeting of the intention of this case management conference statement. So how about I just go over, let's recap what we discussed the last meeting, and then we can discuss it more in depth. And if
Well, Commissioner Farmer,
yes.
yeah, in terms of the objective that you put on there, I think that's right. We do need to obtain resources and request and make sure that it happens. But besides that, I think we need to affirm that the police commission is the body that's going to take over civilian oversight once the NSA goes away. I think we need to state that and affirm that because, as there's an administrator under the mayor who might be also doing the same thing. So we just need to affirm that.
Yeah, we're going to get into all that. I agree with you, and I think that we all need to talk about how we want to communicate what the objective is, and if we have some disagreements, how we want to make all that work, and so that it's a collective statement reflective of everyone's thoughts. Okay, so with that, moving forward, the other things we discussed are potentially requesting a court order requiring all charter mandated positions to be filled within 1 year. Actually, this is something that I added. We didn't actually discuss this at the last meeting. And I know that the court can't, order the city to do anything. All I'm saying is that this is what I think the police commission should fight for or get out of this statement. And another thing that Katina had pointed out at our last meeting, and something that we've discussed in past NSA Ad Hocs, is that funds saved from not paying the court for a monitor and a director can be reinvested into the police commission. And then something that was brought up by Mr. Contreras is that, hey, is there still going to be another sustainability period? This is another question that I have in my mind. And something that Pastor Jackie said is that the key to sustainability is culture change, something that gets discussed in every CMC statement, I believe. And another point that was made, I believe, by Ms. Cleveland is that have the judge keep this on his calendar for the next year in case of backsliding. Maybe not with dates like we have now, but in case something arises, we have somewhere to go to discuss it with the court. Another point made was that we can, through our statement, we can demonstrate how civilian oversight has prevented misconduct payouts to show the city and everyone involved how they're getting a good return on investment by having civilian oversight. And something else, another point made, the city cannot afford to backslide on tasks. I believe the IG made this point. They can't afford to do that financially or in terms of community trust building. And then we discussed resources, specific resources that the IG needs in accordance with the charter, such as in-house auditors, policy analyst personnel, administrative support, and the fact that the Inspector General's office is only in the process of building staff. A fully staff has never been built yet. Another point was requests that the court define the roles of the commission in our investigative arms. Ask the city administration what is their transition plan? Do they have one? What does it entail? Potentially ask someone from the city attorney's office or the city administration to a police commission meeting so that we can ask them those questions. Or I think Director Lawson or Mr. Contreras also said maybe we want to send them an email asking these questions so that we can find out before we finalize our statement. Something else that Mr. Contreras wanted to know was that have the chief of police state his plan for culture change. And I was saying that this is more than likely something that we can also ask them during police commission meetings. And we definitely want to point out that culture change has occurred, but that in order for it to be sustainable, we need fully defined roles and adequate resources, or else history will repeat itself. And that's what we don't want. And then we reiterated that we need a transition plan from OCA, a culture plan from Chief of Police. Sorry, some of these bullets may be redundant because we talked about them with multiple people. And then, as Mr. Contreras is just pointing out, funds being spent on the new constitutional policing administrator could be spent on the police commission instead. I believe that's what he was alluding to. And Pastor Jackie reiterated to ask for what we need. And as I just was pointing out, one or two incidents, and we could backslide on task, be back in the same situation that we're in now. Potentially create an MOU that outlines the funds we need to create meaningful oversight. And Commissioner Grillo pointed out that long-term culture change is essential so that we don't backslide on constitutional policing standards, but that we're looking forward and don't want to suggest that there hasn't been sufficient culture change, which I agree, there has been. And we want to give the city a reason to say yes, not a no, to get more resources, but that we can't force the city to fund anything. It's at city council's discretion, which technically is correct. We may be able to put pressure on them to do that, but we need to be strategic about how we get that funding. And in accordance with the charter, we need resources to audit tasks and to conduct policy review. This is in reference to the IG, he was saying this. And specifically, they need one policy analyst for auditor positions that need to be fulfilled. And just make the court aware that we need these resources in order to be successful. And we want to, and this is the point about the email that Director Lawson made that we just talked about, transition plan that Katina pointed out, just reiterated again. And then about the constitutional administrator again, at the expense of, and this is a really good point that Ms. Cleveland made, that hiring a constitutional administrator at the expense of funding the police commission contradicts city charter requirements. So I think there's a way to point that out in our CMC statement if that's the direction we want to go. In that potentially we want to ask the judge to only dismiss the monitor on the condition that the IG office is fully funded, and then have the IG take over for the monitor and director positions. And then last but not least, Ms. Oldvala said that have OPD demonstrate how all the requirements of the NSA have been met, such as no racial bias, etc. Now, obviously, they're saying that all the tasks are in compliance, but a lot of these tasks, I think her point was that, they haven't been reviewed in some of them, decades, or at least a decade. So I think that's a good point to make. All right, so that's the recap from the last meeting. What are some people's thoughts on all those points, any or all the points? And I'm going to go around if no one raises their hand. Commissioner Grillo, what are you thinking right now?
What I'm thinking is we have to keep in mind the purpose of a case management statement and how the judge is going to receive it. Typically, judges have hundreds, if not thousands, of matters on their calendar. A case management statement is something that is used to help the judge understand what's going on and to make a decision. Many of the issues which were discussed last week, although I agree with them, I don't think they should go into a case management conference statement. And I don't think that for two reasons. One, some of the things, although it's useful information and it indicates issues we have to tackle, they're not the judge's issue to tackle. The second one is if we do anything that is perceived as, I don't know, sabotage is a strong word, but as sabotaging the judge from releasing us from the NSA, it's going to be political suicide. And if you think we're not getting funding now, you let this NSA get continued for another year because of something we've done, and you're not going to see dime one. So I'd be very, very concerned about that. I think the statement we need to give to the judge is, Judge, we're very happy that you're considering this. We need to tell you what we have done and what we're going to do going forward. We've got an IG in place. We've got CIPRA in place. CIPRA is, and this is, I actually believe this, I've been very impressed with how they've been handling things. They're actually doing what they're supposed to do. So it's not being done like the old, wink and nod professional standards sections. Director Lawson is actually looking at these cases and he's working within the system. And I think that that's all been successful. And then some of these other things, I think we apprise the judge of them, but we don't say, Judge, don't let us out unless you do this, because he's going to throw his hands up and say, what's going on there? So, for example, you can raise the issue of funding and some other things, but you don't want to, I don't think you want to try to use it as a bargaining chip with the judge, because he won't be able to do anything other than say, okay, you guys aren't ready. We kick the can down the road another year, and then you're going to have to explain that to the mayor and all the council members. And I don't want to have to go through that.
Okay, specifically, which points are you disagreeing with? You said the bargaining chip about. Can you just reiterate exactly what you're referring to? Because
yeah, scroll through it. Let's see. Why don't you go back up to the? I can't scroll through this, so you have to help me out here, Omar.
Okay, no, I'm looking too. Let me see here. I think. Okay.
Yeah, ask the judge to dismiss the monitor on the condition that the IG office is fully funded and have the IG, you say that to the judge, he's going, what the heck is going on here? that's not appropriate. You don't negotiate with the federal judge that way, put that statement in a case management statement. I do not believe.
Why is that? Why do you feel like that?
Because the purpose of a case management statement is to give the judge information that he needs to decide the case in front of him. The
Mm-hmm.
case in front of him right now, what he is going to decide on the 27th is should we come out of this or not?
Right.
And this suggests that we don't want to come out of this unless the IG office is fully funded. First of all, he can't order it to be funded, so you're asking him to do something he can't. And then you're having the IG take over from the monitor director, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you're asking him to get involved intimately in the personnel management of the uh, police commission.
Mm-hmm.
Police commission matters, and a judge just isn't going to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you, what you're saying in the last point, but I think the reason why that point is stated is because that's how it's designed in the charter and Measure S1 is for the IG to take over for the federal monitor and the compliance director. Like that's literally how it was designed. So he wouldn't necessarily be getting involved. I agree that he shouldn't be involved in the personnel matters and stuff, but that wouldn't be like some thing that he's creating that wasn't already created.
Then don't state it in terms of we want you to do this on the condition that you do that. You put something in the statement that says this is what the charter says, and we intend to go forward.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I agree with what you said at the end there, is just pointing out that this is what it says in the charter, right? You're comfortable with that, just pointing out what it says in the charter, right? Because I think the point is just to get resources to have meaningful oversight. But I hear you on your other points. I know that you want to walk a fine line, and I agree that we should be careful with how we communicate it as well. But let's move on to there are some other hands up. Mr. Contreras, you're next.
Yes. So, the judge is involved in this intimately. He invited the police commission to participate and make a statement. And this was, of course, after one of our chairs, Regina Jackson, insisted that this body be looked at a little more seriously and considered during the statement processes. And so he requested that the police commission participate and make a statement. I think that, and he also has stated several times that culture is primary in making sure that, that the NSA can be lifted and civilian oversight can take over. So by making that statement, identifying culture as being primary and requesting that the police commission participate in the statement is telling me that the judge, is not into negotiating, is not into, being pushed up against the wall and demanding something. I think we're having an adult conversation with him, just like he did with us. And, by stating that we are concerned about the police commission being prepared to do the job that he and the monitor have been doing is important. So, with all due respect, I think that, we're having an adult conversation with the judge, and, a judge is just another person, and he's been, involved with this for many years. And I don't think he's going to look at us, as, whatever statement we come up with, whatever wordsmithing we're going to use, as an insult or as, as something disrespectful. Thank you.
All right, Director Lawson.
Yeah, if I can just follow up on what Commissioner Rio was saying. The judge is just going to rule at this case whether they end the
Can you
NSA.
speak up a little, Mr.
Sure.
Law?
The judge is going to rule on whether they end the NSA or not, really. And he's not going to make any determinations or has any role to make a determination on how much money is going to be given to any agency, IG, CIPRA, or whatever. And that asking to condition anything on funding to these agencies is not going to happen. It's just something he can't do and he's going to discard it. I agree that what we have, in a lot of ways, our message is not to the judge, it's to the city as what OPC can do and what the agencies will be prepared to do. So I think we do have to identify, you may want to say this is what the charter envisioned and this is what we're prepared to do for IG's office. This is what the commission is prepared to do to continue compliance. But the court is not going to be making recommendations as to what the city should do to fund any agency or what the city should do in terms of what the how it's going to work with respect to these agencies. So I think following what Commissioner Greer was saying, that's not a favorable position for us to be asking for the court to do the following. That's not going to happen. What we really have to be saying is this is what was envisioned by the charter, and that these agencies are prepared and ready to take on that vision, and that we hope that the city and the parties involved will be supportive in allowing CIPRA, IG, and the commission to do what was intended, and we are prepared to do that.
Yeah, and then to maybe discuss in detail exactly what it says in the charter. Would you agree with that, Director Lawson?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. All right, Katina, are you getting all this, Katina? Because I think that this is kind of a place maybe to start, or at least definitely information to be included. Commissioner Greer, how do you feel about how Director Lawson communicated that?
I like the way Director Lawson organizes it. I would add one more thing. I would do three things, saying this is what's happened, and this is what, state it again, Director Lawson, because I thought you stated it very well. I just had one thing to add to it. State it again.
Sure. So I was saying what we will need to do is kind of identify what the charter envisioned the agency is doing, right? And then letting them know that we are prepared to take on the challenges and the responsibilities set forth in the charter. And you can identify what they are. And we can even talk about, for example, with CIPRA, we are currently working with the city administrator to transfer some of the responsibilities of IAB over to CIPRA. So we can talk about those things in our report, saying that, the agencies are prepared and willing and in accordance with the charter, able to take on responsibilities that were envisioned by the city. And that includes the IG and the commission.
And I would include those two things. And I would say, and this is what we've done, okay? And put forth some of our accomplishments, which, I happen to think we grade ourselves too hard in this city because we actually do a lot more sometimes than we give ourselves credit for. This is what we've done. We got CIPRA, it's active. We got an inspector general, he's active. And we've done these things, we're working on these things, and then add something else that this is our vision for the future. And I think where we talk about the vision for the future, if we're going to talk about funding, we talk about it in the context of what we need to do to move forward, not judge, tell them to give us money, and if they don't give it, tell them to fund us. If they don't fund us, don't take us out from under this. That's just not going to fly. But I like the way you did it, Director Lawson. I would just add the two other things to it.
I should add also what the commission has done, because the commission now, with the stability that we now have with the commission, which we haven't seen for years in the prior commissions, I think it's important to point that out in the leadership we now have within our commission.
Very good. Good back and forth. IG, what do you have to add?
So I don't disagree on what's being said. However, if we go to the court and give the presumption that we have things in place, that we have proper oversight, and if the court decides to make a decision based on having proper oversight, that could be misleading. So I think it's important to identify that we are lacking resources. Definitely in my office, one of the things, and I think Ms. Cleveland put it in the chat, is that, according to the ordinance, we have to conduct these audits, and we haven't conducted any audits, and we don't even have staff or a contract to conduct audits. So it's important Two, let it be known that we're in the process of doing this, but we still need these resources. I think, short of not identifying some of the pitfalls that we have, and again, that's resources, is not being upfront with the court. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's irresponsible and misleading for us not to point out what hasn't taken place. That's why one of the reasons why the judge invited us, as Director Lawson pointed out, to be not a party to the case, but included with the statement here because he wanted to hear it from us. Uh, you know, our perspective, what resources we had, and to make sure that civilian oversight is going to be possible, especially with the IG's office being the one who's supposed to take over for the compliance director and federal monitor. Um, so I agree with that. Any other thoughts, Mr. Contreras? I think your hand was up for a little bit, and then Ms. Cleveland, I'll get to you.
Yeah, adequate funding is necessary if we're going to be successful with this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to we're going to do a little bit of public comment here. See a couple of hands up. Bear with me 1 second. Figure this out. Ms. Cleveland, did you want to say something? I saw your hand up briefly. Did you want to, or no? You're good? Okay. I'm going to unmute you. You can speak now, Ms. Cleveland.
Yeah, I wanted to say that this is not a political statement. This is an objective statement. And the police commission, as commissioners, it seems to me your obligation is to maintain your independence. This statement is not to please the mayor. It's not to please the police chief. It's not to please the city council. You are an independent entity. And what the judge needs to understand moving forward is the city in a position where they can maintain compliance? And compliance can only be maintained if there's an effective, independent civilian oversight body. And I think you have an obligation to inform the judge that you're more than willing to move forward. But in order to dismiss the monitor and take that position, take those responsibilities over, the inspector general has to be adequately funded. The municipal code requires some specific staffing, and the inspector general can speak to whatever budget he needs in order to do his responsibilities. This is a lawsuit. So in order for it to be settled, the city has to be able to maintain, to continue oversight. SIPR is supposed to have one investigator for every 100 every 100 officers. The inspector general is supposed to have certain staffing. The police commission is supposed to have certain staffing. So I don't think this is political at all. I think you have an obligation to tell the truth to the judge that the city administration has not adequately funded the police commission. And in order for you to take over that responsibility and be responsible, you need adequate funding. And I don't see anything wrong with this. This is not a political statement. This is math. This is being objective, and this is reading the charter. And as police commissioners, you have an obligation to uphold the charter. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I agree. And I think those are some of the technical things that we can point out about that are lacking in terms of resources. And then we have another commissioner who's a member of the public who I asked to join the meeting since I knew that another commissioner was going to be here. So I just want to see if she has any thoughts on what she's heard so far. sorry to put you on the spot, Commissioner Jackson Chastain. If you don't have anything to add, that's fine. But do you have anything to add? Any questions or anything to add from what you've heard so far?
Thanks for unmuting me. No, I just wrote in the chat that I completely agree with Ms. Cleveland. I'd like to do our best to try to leave the politics out of it and state the facts. And the facts are is that the city mandates that we have these funded positions, and I think that's what we should focus on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I think that's what the voters intended. They intended for the police commission not to over politicize uh, situations like this. That's why they voted for a police commission. Um, all right. Any other thoughts on this particular point in terms of how to ask for resources, what resources to ask for? Anyone? Katina, what are your thoughts hearing all this?
My thoughts are that I think that I can draft something that will make everyone happy.
That's what we want to hear. Perfect. All right. Okay, I'm going to go back to our notes here. Was there anything else here in our notes that anyone wanted to reiterate or that struck you that needs to be communicated, doesn't need to be communicated, was a really good point or not? What about this? Pastor Jackie mentioned creating an MOU that outlines the funds we need. And with that in mind, I said that maybe we want to say request a court order requiring all charter mandated positions to be filled within 1 year. And I have a feeling that some people are going to agree with me, some people are going to disagree with me. But I want to know what people's thoughts are on that. Whether you agree or disagree, it's fine. I just want to hear your thoughts. Anyone?
I can start it off. So I'm a little confused though, because the MOU would be between the commissioners, I'm assuming, and who?
I don't even know if I would call it an MOU, but maybe we would say just within a year, a court order saying that. To put like a timeline on how to get the resources.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great idea to have something in writing that the court may potentially agree with, or whether they would do a court order, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But it sounds reasonable that, hey, this is what it says in the ordinance and the charter, and let's follow through on that. Sounds reasonable to me.
yeah, and I know that what I worry is that the court can't necessarily order the city to do anything, but maybe we can at least propose it, uh, some sort of proposal in writing. Commissioner Grill, what do you think about that?
I think you don't want to put yourself in a position of asking the court to do anything, first of all, that they can't really do. I mean, you can order them to fund it, but if they don't have the funds, they say we can't fund it. I think if you ask the court to require all charter mandate positions to be filled within 1 year as a condition of being dismissed from the NSA, I think it's political suicide.
What is this political suicide?
Okay, hold on. Don't cut him off. Keep going, please, Commissioner Grill.
I mean, that's just my view, because what you will have done is you will have injected what is essentially a funding decision, something that is to be made by the legislature, the city council.
Mm-hmm.
You will have injected that into the NSA. Everyone that's working at the legislative level and in the mayor's office has been trying to get out from under this NSA for God knows how long. For a whole lot of reasons. Money's only one of them. And if you do something which in one fell swoop is seen as invading a legislative prerogative, that is funding, and it blows up this NSA, wrapping up the NSA, You think that's going to incline the city council to provide more funding? I don't.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I'll get to you, Mr. Contreras, and you, Ms. Cleveland. I hear you, Commissioner Grillo. I guess my feeling is just that um, we need the resources, and we need to ask for what we need. And I feel like this constitutional administrator position and everything else that's transpired over the past year. Um, how we're communicating what we need um, during that period and currently isn't working, and that we're kind of getting thrown under the bus anyway. So at what point are we going to, at what point and how are we going to speak up for ourselves and do what the voters intended? So I know that how I communicated it here on the notes isn't, uh, a perfect way to do it, but that's what I feel needs to be done is some sort of agreement. Maybe we can have, because as someone else pointed out, this is also us communicating to the city as well. Um, we need to have some sort of proposal or joint resolution, something um, agreed upon between us, whether that's at the CMC or forthcoming before we get out from under federal oversight or when we get out from under federal oversight. The definition of our roles and how we're going to move forward, basically, and how we can fund those things can be the funds that are being used to pay the monitor and the compliance director, which is a lot of funds. So, Mr. Contreras?
Yeah, so the monitor and the judge decide, the monitor looks at the task and looks at compliance. Either there's compliance or there's no compliance. If there's no compliance, then the monitor and the judge at the CMCs make a recommendation of what needs to be done in order to comply with certain tasks.
Mm-hmm.
What CIPRA can do and the IG is make some specific, identify specific reasons why they can't do their job. Let's say, for instance, racial bias, or the fact that there's still not a clear definition of patterns by the OPD. So if CIPRA, is their hands are tied because they don't have enough investigators, they don't have enough, to look at some racial bias complaints, then the monitor and the judge need to make recommendations, and one should be the reason CIPRA cannot follow up on these complaints is that they don't have enough staff. Okay, so we can attack it that way, or we can approach it that way. I don't want to insult anybody using attack. We can approach it that way, because that's part of the monitor's job, and that's part of the judge, their recommendations, and making sure that, that the police commission, along with their agency and the IG, are able to do their job. Thank you.
Okay, Director Lawson, what are your thoughts on this? How to communicate uh, everything to the court? We kind of discussed that a lot, but putting something in writing to make it more concrete or ironclad. How would you propose something like that, or would you not propose anything at all?
Well, I think you got to be cognizant of what the court job is in this situation and what the court is empowered to do. The court's not going to order the city to pay these agencies a certain amount of. The court's not going to hold up any of the NSA condition upon funding. That's not going to happen.
Right, but not. But how would you communicate? We want these funds.
I think should be communicating with the city now before that. You're talking about having some kind of agreement with the city on how it's going to proceed with with the agencies. We should be talking with the city now about that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay. So maybe that's something that we need to do concurrent to this statement and maybe start with the emails that we talked about last week. to see where we can get there. Maybe invite someone from OCA to a police commission meeting, or maybe we want to draft a resolution to propose to the city. Okay, well, we can think about that.
Well, at least to be communicating with the city about, okay, what's the intent after the NSA in the relationship with the agencies and their responsibilities and what they'll be going forward. And you can say, well, this is what we prepared to do. Is this what the city envisions the agencies doing, OPC, SIPR, and IG? But to think that you're going to get the court to somehow decide in September, this is what we need you to do for these agencies before you release the NSA, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. IG.
Yeah, well, what Director Lawson said, it kind of hit it on the nail. I think that we should be talking with the city and then be able to write something good if the city agrees on funding, appropriately funding these offices. And then we have something to show to the court, like the city agreed, blah, 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 blah. But one thing I do want to emphasize that in my position, I think any inspector general should be apolitical and nonpartisan. And so I'm trying to, as much as I can, stay away from particularly pleasing any political movement. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Commissioner Farmer, I think Miss Cleveland has her hand up.
I know I see your hand up. Thank you very much. Yeah, but before we go to Miss Cleveland and the rest of the public, because we're almost at time, I just want to go back to my notes really quick. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just go to Miss Cleveland then. All right, Miss Cleveland, you're up. You're unmuted. Okay. Here
I
we go.
just want to remind you guys that this is a lawsuit. You know, the plaintiff's attorneys have a say in this too. All right. And I just, from a community standpoint, we cannot afford to have OPD slide backwards. You know, I watched a video this evening of the shooting by Fruitvale, where once the man was down, a cop shot him while he was down. Okay? So let's be clear. Your job is to tell the truth about what is needed, and what is needed is for the police commission to be able to function. And as far as talking to the city has already talked to you. They gave you a budget that didn't adequately fund the inspector general, initially did not adequately fund SIPRA, has never adequately funded the police commission, and allocated $450,000 for a constitutional administrator position that is not even mandated, while the mandated position is underfunded.
Okay.
So yeah, you can talk to the city, but I think what you have an obligation to do is to tell the judge that you are more than willing to move forward without the federal monitor, but this is what is required.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the standards have not yet been met.
Right.
And if you're going to be dishonest to the judge, that seems insulting to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I don't think anyone's talking about being dishonest. We're just talking about how to communicate what we need to the court. And I agree that we need to be objective. And I'm sure Katina is going to draft up something really good that we're going to discuss at our next meeting that's going to be palatable to all of us.
And the mayor's going to get up there and she's going to talk about, she got a
I got to
constitutional
move on.
administrator.
Okay, thank you very much. You had your time
Okay,
to
I'm
comment.
sorry.
We can move on to other people if they have anything else to add. Anyone else from the public, would you like to make a comment? I don't see any other hands up. Is there anyone else from the panel? Any other thoughts on what we discussed tonight? Mr. Contreras.
Yes, I just want to know from this panel, what has changed from the last CMC statement or the last two to now, do we really feel that we're ready to get out from? I mean, we have a new chief, unproven. There was a shooting already involved, and there was some lateness in delivering the footage. To me, there's no culture change there. So I just want to know, do we feel that we're ready to? And we have a new mayor who has a lot of good relations with folks. She's been doing a whole lot of good things. But I personally don't feel that, we are ready to get out of this. I don't see a culture change plan from the OPD. The new chief has been there for 30 plus years. During all these scandals. And where was he then? So I'm just, I don't want to pass judgment on him or anything, but I just want to, what has changed from the last two CMC statements and now? Because
I'll take a crack at that.
Okay,
The
go
number
for
of
it.
Skelly hearings down. The number of use of force incidents reviewed by CIPRA, the percentage is up. So those are two things. Okay, we've hired a chief. That's changed. And so, to say that nothing has happened, I don't agree with that. Nothing has changed. I don't agree with that at all. And I could, dig into some of the statistical information that we have, and you could see, other forms of improvement. Now, I will tell you, Mr. Contreras, I respect your views. I think you are very thoughtful when you speak, but you are not going to get a statement out of this police commission to go to the CMC that says, Judge, keep this thing going another year. There are not the votes on the police commission to issue that CMC statement.
Okay. All right. Well, we didn't need to get into all that, but that's really forward thinking. But I don't think that that's not really the objective of our CMC, anyways. What I would say, our CMC statement, and it's not up to the police commission to determine whether or not we get out from under federal oversight. Anyway, that's that would be my response to Mr. Contreras. But thank you for weighing in, Commissioner Grillo. Anyone else have any thoughts on what Mr. Contreras said, or anyone else? Anything to add? All right. If there's no other comments from the public, any other public comment from anyone? All right. So, Katina, so after this, you're going to start to put together the draft, and then how soon do you think there will be something that we can review?
It's hard for me to give an estimate, but I would hope by Thursday.
Thursday? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, there's not enough time to put something in our agenda, but like over email, I guess you would send us something Thursday or Friday time frame. Does that sound about right?
Yes, and if you could send me the summary document that you showed us, that would also be helpful for me.
You mean of what we discussed tonight and last week?
What we discussed last week, and if you have anything to add to it for tonight, that'd be helpful. But you don't have to. You can just send me what you had for last week.
Okay, got it. All right, will do. All right, if there's no other comments from anyone tonight, then the meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks, so.